This week's recipe demo is
Squash-Ocado and rice.
So this week we're making a classic in our household. This recipe we created probably a couple years ago. I found it on a website. It was a pretty weird looking recipe, but I decided to go with it, made it for myself, loved it, and then I decided to make it for Sarah. And
yeah, he modified it a bit, kind of put some Peter weirdness on it, and I was kind of worried when I saw the ingredients, but he was right. It actually turned out really good, and we have been eating it every fall since then.
It's really good, so stick around. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to chop the squash in half.
And preheat the oven to 375 degrees.
We are using acorn squash today. And I pre-cut it. I think I started to cut it the other day. But I can't remember exactly where it was.
So what way would you say you cut the squash?
Oh yeah, this is always a good question that Sarah and I like to cover. So I cut so that it's kind of like lengthwise.
Lengthwise.
Instead of like cutting it so that there's two like the top and the bottom. You have the top and the bottom right here, and then I just cut it this way.
Well, that would be lengthwise.
That would be lengthwise.
So you're gonna want to cut it in half, and then once we get it open, kind of have to struggle with them. Sometimes they're a little bit hard.
Okay.
All right. So once you can do it, babe. Once you get them open, you're gonna scoop all the seeds out of them, and like Peter said, we're using acorn squash, but you could also use butternut squash. That's like a favorite of mine.
Yeah, butternut squash is good.
I like these ones though because I feel like they're like the perfect individual size. Like this is just like a perfect serving size, and it has like a nice little hole for stuffing. Butternut does too, but it's so small, whereas this
It's
one
so
is like
tiny,
perfect.
yeah, and then you have the whole rest of the squash, like, oh, okay. I mean, yeah, it's cool. But another fun one is spaghetti squash.
Peter likes that one more than I do.
We were just talking about this last night. Yeah, she's not that into spaghetti squash. I like to just put spaghetti sauce and stuff in it.
My theory is you just like it because it's a way for us to have spaghetti and we never have spaghetti.
Yeah, we never have spaghetti.
Because like the squash, I feel like it just doesn't have that much flavor, you know? And so it's really just like takes on the flavor of whatever you put on it.
I like it. It's fun. It's like you get like the noodles, the zucchini noodles. Okay, so next step here is we're putting some coconut oil on the flesh on the inside of the squash.
And you guys might think that squash is hard to cook, you know, so you might never use like raw squash. I know my family a lot of times would use the pre-packaged already cut squash a lot, but this is super easy. So we're just cutting it open, scooping out the seeds, putting coconut oil on it, then we're gonna put it face down on the pan, and then we're just gonna bake it. We're gonna bake it at 375 degrees for 40 minutes.
And it doesn't take a lot of coconut oil. We're just using like a half a teaspoon here. Okay, so we've got it on our baking sheet here.
Yep.
And we've got it face down.
Yeah.
It's really simple, and let's go put it in the oven. Okay, so now we're going to be moving on to part B of the recipe.
And so what we have going on here is we're cooking some brown rice. We just used this brown rice right here, and we're just cooking a cup. So 1 cup of rice to 2 cups of water, and it's cooking right here hot. And so that'll cook while the squash cooks, and that's one part of it.
Another part is chop up some red onion or yellow onion, whatever kind of onion you have.
And then the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to mash the avocado. Can you open that for me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Rice, avocado, red onion, some squash.
Really simple.
Really easy.
So far, so simple.
Can you pass me the spoon?
Oh yeah.
Thank you. Another reason that I like this recipe is because it's totally different. There's so many stuffed squash recipes out there that have like quinoa and like all this crazy mixture that goes inside of them. And I mean, we make those, we do this, but this one is just like so easy. I'm a big fan.
Yep, this is definitely my go-to recipe with squash. So you're gonna make this recipe and you're gonna love it, but you're gonna make it so much that you might get tired of it. But stay tuned because we're gonna have a lot of recipes coming up this season. A lot of new squash recipes. I had my hopes on a squash cookie recipe, squash pizza, squash brownie, squash ice cream.
Oh my gosh, squash ice cream?
Mm-hmm.
You didn't tell me he had that up his
Squash
sleeve.
candy bars.
What about some squash muffins? That sounds good.
Squash muffins, that sounds good.
Ooh, like
It all
squash
sounds
and
good.
carrot.
Woo! This onion. Woo!
It's strong. I cut some up earlier today.
This is killer. Woo!
Oh, Pete, don't cry.
Oh my goodness. Oh, it's
Okay.
an onion funeral.
So, let's show you guys what we got. So we got the mashed avocado.
Yes. And
One
then-
avocado mash.
And then we have the squash guts and we have the chopped onion.
Chopped onion, and then we have the rice cooking. And so now all this is made, so then next step is to assemble it. So the squash is finished now, and now it's time for part C, time to assemble it.
Okay, let's do it. Okay, so the first thing we like to do is we like to put some rice in there.
Alright, so we got our brown rice, nice and cooked. We're just gonna scoop it
A
out.
couple scoops of rice in each one. We like to go by level, and really like you can do whatever you want, but this is what we like to do. Scoop the rice down, beautiful. Then just put some of your chopped onion right there on top of each one.
And then we do brags next.
If you're a big onion lover like Sarah, you could do a little extra.
I do like my onion.
She does.
Then we're going to use some brags. It's pretty much just like a soy sauce. So you could use a regular soy sauce. You could use tamari. And just give it a little bit.
A little bit of brags.
Whoops.
Woo! And then we're going to top it off with that avocado that we mashed up.
Just put it
Pop it right there on top.
on top.
Oh, it looks good.
Yum.
Okay, wow, yeah, this smells delicious. I can't wait to grub. So, I think that there's some pretty good reasons why you should make this recipe. The first being, it's weird and original and delicious. It's you've never had anything like it, I promise you. It is so good, you have to try it.
And number 2 is squash is in season. You know, if you get a CSA box, it's growing. You're getting it in your box every week. And, I mean, it's a fall staple.
And thirdly, it's really simple. We're talking like, once again, like 5 or 6 ingredients. It's so easy. You saw how easy it was. You chop it up, you set it, you forget it. And here we are. Let's eat. So thank you so much for joining us. And we will see you next week.